Hello again, fellow writers, and welcome back to my study. Here we are in the warm lighting with the books in the background, the perfect setting to talk about the proper use, the correct use of the two words that cause us so much trouble in our writing and in our speaking in English, lie and lay. There are reasons it's confusing. There are forms of each of these words that seem to be a form that is associated with one of the other words, and we get them backwards very frequently. We get them wrong. And in conversation, that's not so bad. But in writing, we want to be correct because we don't want to distract our readers. If our readers are distracted, they don't pay attention to what we're trying to tell them. So we're going to use this little page that I've kind of adapted from the book called Rules for Writers by Nancy Summers and Diane Hacker. And it's a good way to kind of work our way through some of the applications of these two words and straighten out the confusion that often exists when we try to use various forms of those words. So we have a little chart at the top of our page here to kind of start us off and give us the correct forms of each of these verbs, the declension, if you will. So let's start with lie. Lie means to recline, so if we lie down, we recline. So what's the past tense of lie? It just happens to be lay. That's what we have all decided in the English language would be the past tense of the verb lie. The past participle is lain, and the present participle is lying. Okay, so that's the deal for the word lie, meaning recline. In the instance of the verb lay, meaning to put, when we lay something down, we put it down. We have a different declension here, and it just happens to be significantly different. So for lay, the past tense happens to be laid. And the past participle also happens to be laid. That happens a lot in various verbs in English. And the present participle is laying. So there's two different ways of laying these words out, if you will, and making them work in the various applications of the verb that we need in our sentences. But we get them wrong very often because we interchange them. We can see right off, if we look at that chart a little bit, that the confusion makes sense because the past tense of lie is lay, but that's also the base form of the word we use to meaning to put. So we get confused about it. It's not that hard to unravel, though, if we keep the rules in mind. So let's look at our first sentence here and see how we can unravel what the problem is here. Sue was so exhausted that she laid down for a nap. We're looking at the past tense here. But what we have here with laid is what? We have the past tense of lay, meaning to put. Sue was reclining. So we need the past tense of lie, meaning that we go to our chart and see that it is indeed lay. So Sue was so exhausted that she lay down for a nap, L-A-Y. That is correct. Doesn't always sound correct. It doesn't always get uttered as correct, but that is the way we need to do it when we write sentences in order to be correct and not distract our reader. Okay, let's look at the next example, similar. The patient had laid in an uncomfortable position all night. Okay, again, we're looking for the past tense of lie here because the patient had reclined in an uncomfortable position all night. Could be interchanged with lay. The form of lie, I mean, laid. And the past tense of lie, again, is lay, but we're looking here with had laid, had, for the past participle. So what's the past participle of lie? It is lain, L-A-I-N. And we have used the past participle for the word lay here. So all we do is fix that. And our sentence reads actually kind of funny. The patient had lain in an uncomfortable position all night. Doesn't sound all that correct, does it? Well, it is correct. Technically, it is correct. But if you're uncomfortable with that, if you want to change it, if you want to make it sound more like you traditionally would hear it or read it, you could change the whole sentence, recast the sentence to say the patient had been lying, and that might sound a little bit more. The patient had been lying in an uncomfortable position all night might work better than had lain. Nevertheless, either one of those two forms is correct. Okay, next sentence, the prosecutor lay the pistol on a table close to the jurors. So we're using the past tense here in this sentence, and we're using the past tense lay, which is the past tense for lie. And we're talking about putting the pistol on the table. So we again have made the error of using the wrong form of the past tense. So what are we going to do here? L-A-I-D. The prosecutor laid the pistol on a table close to the jurors. Okay? So you can see the difference. We're just not confusing or unraveling the confusion of the wrong past tense because we're using the wrong word to begin with. Okay, next sentence. Letters dating from the Civil War were laying in the corner of the chest. At first glance, we might say, well, that looks right because we're in the lay, we're in the put kind of situation here, right? No, we're not really. We're talking about the form of lie instead of the form of lay, meaning to put. The letters were reclining, so to speak, in the corner of the chest, so we're going to use, again, the past tense here. So when we use the past tense here, the letters dating from the Civil War were lying, the present participle I should have said, were lying in the corner of the chest. That sounds right? It is right. We're using, again, the form of lie, not the form of lay. And that's all you really need to figure out in any given sentence. And then you just use the tense or the participle that you need to use. When I get the urge to exercise, I lay down until it passes. Okay, that's past tense. That's really not what we're looking for here, but we're looking at the base form for put, and that's wrong. And we often say that in spoken English, but again, this is wrong. So what are we looking for here? I lie down until it passes. Okay, so all we have to really do is keep in mind whether we're talking about reclining or putting. And once we do that, refer to what we know or what we can look up about the form of the verb that we need to use in that particular context, and then make sure we use the right one. It's not that hard, not that difficult, and when we get it right, we avoid the problem of misleading the reader and confusing the reader and distracting the reader from what we are trying to say.